Hey guys, how we doing? Let's see how there's the little ones. They're doing good. And today is the day they're gonna come outside. Them and mom are gonna come out. They're gonna be with you guys. They're gonna share space with you guys now. Huh? Yeah, I think everybody's ready to be put together, and we're doing that mainly because decision's been made. Going to take the 4 ewes and get to my son-in-law, and they are coming down here. We're going to bring them down. It won't be today. It may be tomorrow or the next day, but they have to be in the next couple of days because we're getting close. Today, I'm going to take all this apart. I want to bring the tractor in. I'm going to clean this out today. I'll show you some of that later. We're going to move the hay feeder. I'll explain why I'm going to do that. And we're going to be juggling around pins and making some changes. But for today's video, I want to talk about horns. And basically, I had somebody comment to me on one of the sheep videos. It actually wasn't here. It was where I used to do them. I sent him this direction. I said, I'll do a video here next week discussing horns, horn growth. He was curious, how long does it take to get decent sized horns on the sheep? So today, that's strictly what we're going to talk about today. And next time around, we'll get into moving all this other stuff. All right, well, I guess we're raising horn-haired sheep, then horns are, of course, going to be important. The way they measure the horns, initially it was set up years ago by a lady named Anita Garza. She was the one that first determined how they were going to measure for the painted desert sheep. And she was an official scorer for the records of exotics, where they would measure sheep and other animals like that during hunting. So we use the exact same standards here. Now the records of exotics have bronze and silver and gold, but as far as the painted desert sheep, they're only concerned with gold. And that would be a score of 94 inches or greater would make a gold star ram. Now the way that is done, they'll take your horn, they'll measure right from the base and measure the outside all the way around the horn for length. They'll measure the circumference at the base. They'll measure the circumference halfway down. So each horn has 3 measurements, total of 6. You add them all up, and if they add up to 94 or more, you have a gold star ram. Now I mentioned in the last video, these 2 sheep right here. One is the painted desert, the other is a Texas doll that belonged to my son-in-law. Both of those are about 2 years old, a little less, a little more. And right now we did an unofficial measurement, and we came up with just less than 94 inches. So they're just not quite gold. You know, it's quite possible if we really fine-tuned the measurement and did it exactly the way we should, they might already be gold star. And I believe my son-in-law actually knows somebody that is an official scorer for the ROE. So we're talking about maybe getting him out here. We'll sit down, officially measure both of those. If we do that, I'll try to get some video of that. Now I mentioned those 2 are sitting right at the gold star level, and they're 2 years or slightly less. That's pretty good. You know, technically I'd say if you're looking at sheep sometimes in that 2 to 3 year range that's getting into the gold star, I think that's pretty decent. There's a lot of sheep that might go 4 years and older, they never make gold star. I believe the last I looked, at the end of December, through the Painted Desert Sheep Society, there was a total of like 68 or 69 gold star rams. It's probably in the 70s by now, but it takes a pretty decent ram to get into that gold star standard. And that's why I think the genetics is so important when we're talking about these sheep. So let's talk about horn growth. One of the biggest things I see is people talking on forums of, okay, what do I feed? What's the best thing to feed so I can get the best horn growth? And I think one of the biggest misconceptions I've seen that a lot of people that are raising horn-haired sheep, they're also hunters and they're deer hunters, and they see all these minerals and stuff you put out for deer, and you figure, okay, I'll give that to sheep and then they'll grow big horns too. And I don't see that. I mean, they need minerals, that's fine, But antlers and horns are two totally separate things. They're not related whatsoever. A horn is like a fingernail. It's more like a fingernail, where an antler is something totally different than that. And antler growth, yes, mineral really helps. Horn growth is protein. Protein is what's really needed for horn growth. Now, that being said, I don't think it's so much what you feed, it's what you don't feed. And that is, just feed a good, balanced diet. Don't go crazy on protein. I mean, some people, they're going to go really crazy on protein because I want to grow the horn. But when they eat the protein, now you're missing something else. If they're spending all the consumption goes into protein, then you're missing the other stuff. And the other stuff is important too. So a good, solid, balanced diet will do as much for horn growth as anything else you can feed them. So just give them a good, balanced diet. Now, all that being said, you want to go good horns? It starts with genetics. It's plain and simple genetics. I mentioned less than 70 Gold Star rams in the Painted Desert Sheep Society as of December 2020. But if you go with those rams, if you're looking at those rams, those are the ones you want to try to work with. I mentioned I had the 3 ewes here that I brought in that I have here now. Every one of those ewes is by a Gold Star ram. And if you look at the pedigrees on any of those ewes, there are multiple Gold Star rams on every one of them. And then you try to breed to a Gold Star ram. So that's what I'm looking for, because I figure if I start with the best genetics to begin with, then clearly, as long as I feed them well, take care of them, good balanced diet, great genetics to start, I should get good horn growth. You know, I'd like to think I will see rams, and not every ram's going to be a Gold Star. They can't all grow up to be that way. Genetics doesn't work the same for every sheep you're going to have. But I'd like to think if I can sit and have my sheep at that Gold Star range at that 2 and 3 years is kind of what you're looking for, you'll have some pretty decent rams. Now, the 4 new ewes I'm about to bring down for my son-in-law, all 4 of those ewes will be bred to the ram that is just right at Gold Star right now at less than 2 years old. So they have very good genetics there. There's good genetics in those ewes. I should be looking at some pretty good horn growth early on. I hope that covers the questions that I was asked of all about horn growth and how long could it take, what to expect, what do I need to do to get good horn growth. Hopefully that explains it all. I'm gonna get ready, tear this thing apart. The next video, we'll get this thing straightened out. We'll get the new ones down here. I'll show you the new ewes. And hey, little guy, if I move the camera, he'll probably move too. But anyway, that should have you on the horn growth. Thanks for sticking around.